Get NFL Sunday Ticket at its lowest price ever and watch every game every Sunday. Take your NFL experience to even greater heights with NFL Sunday Ticket Deluxe, which gives you Red Zone, bringing you the final yards from around the league along with minute-to-minute NFL fantasy updates. Call us at 601-8992 to sign up today.
Good evening, Bahamas. You're tuned into MB12, broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Coming up tonight in news, tragedy strikes an inner-city residence as 6 people perish in a fire. The Minister of National Security said it's one tragedy that has left him speechless. Plus, the leader of the opposition says the government is stalling in the investigation into Cuban claims of abuse. And another funnel cloud spotted off the Capitol today. We've got those stories and so much more coming up. I'm Paige McCartney, and MB12 starts right now. Welcome once again to MB12. What many described as an unbelievable tragedy occurred this morning. This fire swept through a Homestead Street home, trapping the occupants and killing all inside. Our news team was on the scene this morning talking to neighbors, family, and police, who all described the incident as heartbreaking. Those wails rose into the early morning air just as the smoke continued to rise from ashes of the small 4-room wooden home that was reduced to nothing but a shell. One by one, the bodies of the 6 people who died were carried away on stretchers to the sounds of mourning neighbors and family members. Police say they were called about the fire at around 2 a.m., but by the time fire services responded, it was too late. And 2-year-old Joshanique King, her mother, Jennifer Barrett, her grandmother, 2 teenage boys, and a woman in her 20s had already met their fate. Neighbor Magloy Bellador recounted for us his attempt at a rescue and the appeal of at least one person inside for help.
I was in the room sleeping, and I hear someone holler and say, "Help, help." And when I come out, I get my hammer, and I see the fire to the east window. And I knock up the door open. When I knock it open, and they are full of fire, I can't get in there. So what I do, I get a bucket and get water and start throw up. And I call the neighbors them, start throw up some water. Then we call the fire engine. Then fire engine come to help. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so you didn't have, you just heard a woman's voice was screaming
yeah.
help.
She said help, help.
Oh, baby, oh, God. God.
Family members who came to the scene were overcome with grief at the tremendous loss. Princess Barrett, Jennifer's sister, said she lived at that home but didn't sleep there last night. She said she lost everything and told of how she came to find out about the tragedy after last seeing her family at around 8 o'clock Sunday evening.
My best friend called me. She lived like right next door, and she told me the house was on fire if anybody was in there, and I tell her I wasn't home. I don't know. Then I came home shortly after.
And this is your whole family?
Not my whole family, but some of them.
Most of the home's windows had security bars. Neighbors suggested that made rescue or escape even more challenging. Despite the best effort of fire crews, Police Superintendent Paul Roll told us only when the fire was under control were they able to verify the loss of life.
Officers arrived on the scene along with the fire equipment, where they met a wooden structure stuck over and flames. The units were able to extinguish this fire, and upon examining the interior of the house, discovered the lifeless bodies of 5 persons, six. We could confirm that at least 6 persons have perished in this fire.
In an instance of grim irony, this tragedy comes at the start of what has been designated Fire Safety Awareness Week. Director of the Fire Services Unit, Superintendent Walter Evans, is now advising Bahamians to take precautions which will raise the alarm if a blaze breaks out in time to give occupants the opportunity to exit their fortified homes.
One thing we always want to say to the public is the importance of the installation of smoke detectors within their homes. Smoke detectors to save lives. Again, this morning, this has been a very, very tragic situation where 6 persons have lost their lives in the home. And we want to just send a message out to the wider community as we launch Fire Safety Awareness Week, which begins today. We want to encourage them to adhere to fire safety principles. We are here to assist because we are not happy when numbers like this happen or incidents like this happen.
Well, the deadly blaze drew Minister of National Security Dr. Bernard Nottage and more than a dozen senior police officers to the home this afternoon. As emotional family members and neighbors looked on, Nottage laid a wreath in the room where the 6 lives were lost. Our Jasmine Bonamy was there. She filed this report.
Back at the scene this morning, firefighters continued their investigations as neighbors and family members looked on. Hours after the horrific fire, the minister visited what was left of the home. Nottage, who grew up not too far away, said neighbors will have a very difficult time dealing with the aftermath because it is a very close-knit community. Nottage called the incident an unspeakable tragedy and said he was lost for words moments after he spoke to family and friends.
I'm really speechless. I came because I needed to see what happened, what the circumstances were, because we have to do everything that we can to prevent occurrences like this, although it's not an easy task. This is an unspeakable tragedy, and one that I think the neighbors will have a very difficult time dealing with, because in these communities people are so close to each other.
Nottage said it's the kind of incident that can easily happen, and there are some things that can contribute to tragedies like this one.
In many of these communities you go into, you will see these extension cords, and you know the vehicles rolling over them. Sometimes they go across the street, etc. And there's no question that is a recipe for problems. I can't say that that's what happened here, but I notice that there are cords running across the ground. And
Marie Winters Lloyd, who identified herself as an aunt of the victims, said she took care of them for most of their lives. This afternoon, she sobbed as she sifted through the burnt debris.
Miss, they grew with me, and every time my sister has a baby, I always be right there at the scene, and I took care of those children from they come big grown man and woman. They all know how to marry, and I did the very best I can in every which way I can. When Christmas night work, they has no problem with Christmas because they have the cake, the whole ham, the whole turkey, and everything. I brings everything for them, and they're happy. They was happy. When they see me, oh, they love their aunt. We had good communication and good relationship and a good basic understanding. And I'm so sorry, too, that I was unable to get here this morning when I heard the news. But all I could say that the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Blessed be his holy name.
Ironically, this tragedy comes at the start of what has been designated Fire Safety Awareness Week. ASP Evans says it's too early to determine the cause of the fire. However, investigators have an idea of how the fire started. He also revealed that the bodies of the 6 victims were all found in the back bathroom of the home. Evans said all possibilities, including arson, are being investigated, and the probe is expected to wrap up this week. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Bonamy.
Well, just before visiting the site of the deadly blaze, Minister Nottage officially opened Fire Safety Week 2013 during a ceremony at the mall at Marathon this morning. This year's theme is empowering the disabled through fire safety, and officials say the disabled community will be highlighted this week. While addressing the crowd, Nottage said this year's statistics reveal an increase in fire-related tragedies.
For the period January to August 2013, there were 4 deaths recorded, compared to 1 during a corresponding period last year. Property damage for 2013 is estimated to be $3,352,000, compared to $8,445,000 in 2012.
Nottage said the fire branch is an important arm of protective services in the country and government continues to invest in manpower and equipment. He said government has already made good on a promise to deliver 5 new state-of-the-art fire trucks, and during this fiscal period it will ensure staff levels in that division are beefed up. Well, shifting to other news tonight, the leader of the Free National Movement is blasting government for dragging its feet on a final investigation into allegations of abuse at the Carmichael Road Detention Center. Dr. Hubert Minnis says it shouldn't take this long for officials to appoint a retired Court of Appeal justice, asserting that the Christie administration is stalling. He also weighed in on activist group Democracy Movement's latest efforts to pressure government into action. Vonnie Toot has that story.
As a Cuban-American group prepares to take abuse allegations to the Organization of American States, FNM leader Dr. Hubert Minnis is urging government to stop stalling and launch a final investigation into this controversial matter. We understand that government has not yet appointed the retired Court of Appeal justice and another official to lead the probe into the alleged abuse of Cuban detainees at the detention center. However, Minnis urged officials to get on with it, noting the truth will eventually come out.
I think they're probably stalling. Well, Mitchell had said, Minister of Foreign Affairs had said that he had not selected the priest and the judge, etc. We have sufficient priests and judges in this country for him to, if he can't find one, he can find another one. So I don't know what's his delay, but with time we will find out.
The abuse allegedly happened 4 months ago. However, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Immigration Fred Mitchell could not say why there has been a delay in the probe and referred the media to the Ministry of National Security.
I would advise the government to do what is necessary in the best interest of the Bahamas. Once a report is not of national security, security implications, then yes. That is where transparency comes in. That's where Freedom of Information Act comes in. And that's something that I most certainly will continue to push for.
The Free National Movement isn't the only body pushing for a conclusion to this controversial issue. Spokesman for the Democracy Movement, Ramon Sanchez, said yesterday the group would submit a report to the OAS Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. That complaint will outline allegations of abuse and decry the practice of holding children at that detention center. But is the group taking it too far?
That's their right. It's just like an individual taking the case to the Privy Council. You ask the question, do you think they have to take it that far? That's the recourse that they have, and they maximize it. But one thing you must remember, I and all members of the FNM are patriotic, we are Bahamians, and we will do everything to protect the Bahamas.
Sanchez says government has dragged its feet for too long and pledged that his group will not relent until the Christie administration releases the results of its investigation. However, Mitchell said yesterday the Democracy Movement's protests against the government had little impact on this country's reputation. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonnie Toot.
While 13 more Cubans were interdicted by the Coast Guard off Key Sal yesterday evening, according to Director of Immigration William Pratt, he said that 10 men, 3 women were found at around 7. They were transported to Freeport this afternoon. Pratt said they will be flown into the capital where they'll be processed and housed at the Carmichael Road Detention Center. And the Department of Meteorology today issued another severe weather warning after funnel clouds were once again spotted around New Providence. Our cameras were rolling as one formed and hovered near Paradise Island. The severe thunderstorm warning went into effect for New Providence, North Andros, and the Berry Islands at around 4:30 this afternoon and ended at around 6:30. The Department of Meteorology said around 4:25 this afternoon, air traffic controllers and pilots observed several funnel clouds north of New Providence, as well as heavy thunderstorm activity in the east of Andros Island. The Met Department warned that some of the thunderstorms would be severe at times, causing strong gusty winds, dangerous lightning, heavy downpours, hail, and possibly waterspouts or tornadic activity. Well, stick with us. Coming up after the break, a conference focused on how climate change will affect the Bahamas. We'll tell you more about that and other stories when we come right back.